The math my mother didn't know she knew. My mother's shears spoke a language of logic that her schoolbooks never taught her. My mother used to say it like she was stating a fact, not a belief. I'm not a math person, Ritu. And then in the same breath, she would do math with her hands. On most afternoons, our home looked like a small tailoring unit. A bolt of cloth spread across the floor, fabric scraps and threads here everywhere, a measuring tape coiled like a sleeping snake, tailor's chalk leaving a soft white dust on her fingers. And the sound I still remember most, kach, kach, the metal shears cutting through fabric without hesitation. No calculator, no printed pattern sheets, no template for curves, just her eyes, her wrists, and a kind of logic that lived inside muscle memory. Once I watched her draw a neckline curve on a blouse piece. One smooth arc, confident and precise. Like her hand knew something her mouth refused to admit. How do you know how deep to make that curve? I asked. She laughed, hands covered in chalk dust. I just know, Ritu. It's just how the neck is shaped. Just know. She said it lightly. But I heard something else inside it. Years of learning to hide intelligence in plain sight. Years of believing that if it didn't come from a textbook, it didn't count. But the first time I met math in our house, it didn't look like chalk and fabric. It looked like fear. I was 3 years old, sitting across from my mother at the table. We were counting. It felt like a song we were climbing together. A rhythmic staircase. 38, 39, 40. And then silence. The next number was a wall I couldn't climb. I looked up at my mother's face. Her eyes weren't just stern, they were full of a desperate pressure, as if something bigger than me was at stake. In that gaze, I didn't see a teacher trying to help her child. I saw a woman terrified that her daughter would inherit the same slowness she had been punished for all her life. When I finally whispered, I don't know, the disappointment in the room turned heavy. Then her hand came down. For a long time, that moment defined my relationship with mathematics. Numbers became a place of fear, a place where you could fail in front of someone you love. But as I grew older, another truth came into focus. Slower, quieter, harder to admit. She wasn't hitting me for not knowing the next number. She was hitting the reflection of her own fear. After that, my mother treated school math like a room she didn't want to enter again. Whenever a bill arrived or I asked for help with homework, her hands would pull back, as if the numbers would burn her. I can't help you with that, Ritu, she would say, voice dropping. I'm not a math person. She believed that sentence. She had lived inside it for years. And the world believed it too. Because the world only recognizes math when it comes in textbooks and mark sheets. No one pointed to a woman sitting on the floor, fabric on her knees, and said, that's geometry. No one looked at the way she measured, estimated, adjusted, and translated bodies into patterns and said, that's logic. They just let her keep shrinking her intelligence into that one line. I'm not a math person. But every day, I watched her contradict herself. I watched her glance at a piece of fabric and estimate exactly how much could be cut from it. Not roughly, but accurately enough that nothing was wasted. I watched her tilt the shears for a bias cut, the subtle angle that changes everything about how a dupatta drapes. I watched her fold fabric into symmetry like it was instinct. She was solving equations with chalk and refusing to say their name aloud. Then one day, I couldn't hold it in. I pointed to the blouse pieces spread perfectly symmetrical on the floor. Ma, I said, You've been doing math for 3 hours. You just don't call it that. She looked up at me like I had said something outrageous. Then she laughed, quickly, defensively, the way people laugh when something lands too close. No, no, she said. This is different. This is teaching. What you do here, I said, tapping the chalk line, is also math. It's just math that helps someone feel good in their clothes. For a moment, she went quiet. Not defensive quiet, thinking quiet. Then she did something I hadn't seen her do with numbers in a long time. She didn't pull her hands away. She picked up the measuring tape and let it run through her fingers, slowly, looking at the numbers as if she was meeting them again for the first time. She said, half to herself. So, this is also math. She didn't announce a transformation. She didn't say, I am confident now. She didn't suddenly rewrite her past. But in that small something softened. Not in the room, but inside the sentence she had been carrying for years. If you grow up believing you're bad at math, you don't only avoid numbers, you avoid confidence. You avoid the right to say, I can help my child. And that's what breaks the chain. Not forcing mothers to solve worksheets, but helping them recognize the logic they already have live inside every day. My mother's cheers were never non math, they were always speaking logically. The only difference is that now I can give it a name. And maybe slowly, gently, she can too.